Hello everyone, my name is Pixlriffs and welcome back to the Minecraft Survival Guide. I hope you guys are having a good day. Today we're back here at the archaeological dig site of the fossil that we discovered in yesterday's episode, and thank you so much for the support on that episode. I'm really excited that people are into seeing stuff like this when we can find it naturally, which is very, very rarely. So I'm very, very happy that we've got this fossil here. And today, I'm going to make good on my promise to expand the archaeological dig site a little bit, using a little bit of knowledge of terraforming. There are a few different schools of thought when it comes to terraforming stuff in Minecraft. Typically, you'll find people trying to make the landscape either look a little bit more realistic, or to make it look a little bit more fantastical than Minecraft terrain typically does. Obviously, Minecraft terrain is pretty fantastical in itself, but it also has this element of randomness to it, because it's all been generated by an algorithm that's working from numbers and pulling out data from your seed number of exactly how it's going to generate the terrain around it, which is all very clever. And what we're going to do is try and emulate the way Minecraft builds terrain a little bit to make this desert look like it is the natural desert that would have generated here anyway. And we're going to try and remove sections of the ocean and water around here just so that I have a little bit more terrain around me to work with. And then what we're going to do is do a bit more terraforming around this site in particular to try and open out the earthworks here and make this feel a little bit more like something that's been set up man-made. And I want to avoid, basically, this kind of hard edge that we have around the outside here with sand and dirt, because, yeah, I've basically had to box this whole thing off to make sure that water didn't get in and mess with the lava that we have at the bottom of this ravine, because a few people in the comments even echoed my sentiment where they said, I really like the lava at the bottom of the ravine. It kind of gives the whole thing a prehistoric vibe. And yeah, I agree with those people. I think we want to keep that, and so we want to avoid any water getting in here as much as possible. So what we're going to do a lot of the time is work with sand and sandstone, and probably a little bit of natural stone as well, because you would think a desert was made entirely out of sand, but a quick look at the cave structure in here can tell you a little bit about how Minecraft builds the world. Now, anything below a certain level in a desert is typically going to be made out of natural stone. As Minecraft's normal cave generation takes over, you get stone, andesite, diorite, gravel, dirt, that kind of stuff. The ore blocks that make up the lower terrain generation. As you can see from the cross-section of what we have here, the sandstone stops a few blocks below sea level. We have sandstone, we have sand, and then we have the open air above it. So anything below that point is probably going to have to be stone. And if you want to emulate the way Minecraft builds terrain, you have to keep that kind of stuff in mind. It's also all going to be full blocks, because Minecraft doesn't use any stairs and slabs when it comes to generating the terrain. All of the terrain is made out of full blocks. Obviously, you start to get things like slabs introduced in certain sections where there are generated structures, like villages, mine shafts, and that kind of thing. You'll see slabs and fences and walls, and all kinds of different building blocks get put into those. But the terrain is all made out of cubes. So that's what we're going to be sticking to. We're going to be sticking to the blocks that are used to make up a desert. We also have a couple of advantages in the way certain blocks can be placed. For example, if we're using mainly sand, we have the advantage that if we're filling in a water section here, sand is affected by gravity. So any sand we place down here is automatically going to stack up from the bottom upwards, meaning that we can stay on the surface, place blocks that way, not have to worry about breathing underwater or night vision or bringing a conduit over or anything like that. Of course, if we want to stay true to the natural generation that Minecraft has, then we want to be layering this up with sandstone first and then sand on the top. We can use the naturally formed kind of ocean terrain here as a bit of a guideline for where curves are going to start to appear in our sort of additions to the desert here. And eventually we'll layer this up with sandstone, and then we'll drop sand in from the top, and we'll create a kind of barrier wall. From there, we're going to have to build up the sand a little bit more around the outside, because as you can see, Minecraft terrain doesn't just have straight walls everywhere. It's got curvature to the beaches, and there's a kind of fall-off that happens as you get further and further out into an ocean biome. So we're going to continue to build up around here. We're going to go to a time-lapse nice and early in this episode just so I can get a lot of this stuff done first, and then we can come back and work on the dig site some more. So we'll go to a time-lapse, and I'll see you guys on the other side. Welcome back, folks. I hope you enjoyed the time-lapse, and I've got to say, it really has made a phenomenal difference, even doing the basic amount of terraforming and filling in of land that we've already done, because it really makes a lot more sense to have this thing be an elongated scar in the landscape than have it just kind of cut off here in a box shape. And I've done a very minimal amount of terraforming of the stone down there, just kind of cutting away sections of it to make the cave formation look a little bit more natural. And I think it has worked wonders. I have a couple more details I want to add to this area. First of all, I should also thank folks in the comments who gave me some feedback about which way the grindstone should go and reminded me that you can actually hang a grindstone from the underside of a block. That actually fills in the gap between the grindstone itself and that piece of wooden fence, and that really means that the fence design can continue that way while it still looks like it's being hung from the underside of this as a pulley system, which is perfect. Absolutely what I wanted, so thank you guys for that. We're going to use that one more time because we're going to add a crane to this dig site area, and we're going to build it behind here as though it's been used to lift some of these coal blocks and maybe even some of the bone blocks from the fossil itself that have been brought up to the surface. So we're going to build that in just a moment, but first of all, I thought I would bring up a couple of things related to terraforming this area, which you might find kind of useful and worth noting if you're planning on taking on a similar project. For a start, it's worth clarifying that Minecraft biomes are not created by the player. They exist intrinsically as part of the world. Unlike other games like Terraria, which have biomes that can actually be created, if you place enough blocks for that biome in a certain area, it actually becomes a desert or an underground cave or something like that. Here in Minecraft, the biomes are absolute. They do not change. The borders of biomes cannot be manipulated. And so even where we have put a whole bunch of sand here, I mean, we have not made this beach. Right now, I am standing in a biome which here, on this block, registers as an ocean. Likewise, in the area over here that we have filled in, this registers as a river, as far as biomes are concerned. And some of the blocks that we can bring in here will react accordingly. Take a look at the grass over here as an example. These grass blocks all think they are in a river biome right now, and some of them might even think they're in an ocean biome if we went out into the ocean a little bit further in this direction. So let's say here, right on the shore, if I take away this and I add in a grass block here, it has the color of grass that you would expect from an ocean biome. Whereas if I go a few blocks inland to a section that was definitely part of the original desert biome and I place a grass block here, you will notice that the grass is of a very different color. It's a lot yellower and kind of has that dried out look to it. And that is why I've been using grass paths quite extensively around here. I mean, look at the difference. You can see the difference quite clearly. Even with the blending that occurs between adjacent biomes, you can see that that color is a very different kind of color to this grass over here. So grass paths help to even out the balance between those two, and grass paths will look the same in any biome regardless. And it also looks quite neat as part of the desert, both to have this kind of squashed down and muddy section as though the sand has been trodden down and maybe mixed with water and that kind of stuff. Could also work pretty well around the edges of the beaches here too. But it also allows you to even out those biomes a little bit and to disguise the fact that this section here is part of the river. You might want to put in a few of grass blocks here and there, primarily because you might want to have some grass growing here and there. Even in desert climates, you can still get plants that grow in arid conditions, and so having a little bit of grass, maybe not so much with the flowers, but having some grass here and there can definitely help it feel a little bit more like it can stand out some. And so that's one of the things I want to do over on this side as well, although it does have a tendency to grow tall grass that I don't want. So it's going to take a little bit of trial and error or maybe some precision shearing to get the grass over here the way that I want it. One other thing we could do in this area, which I actually brought some bone blocks of my own. Remember, you can just create bone blocks. You don't have to find them as part of fossils. If you have access to bone meal, you can create a bone block using, where did I put that? Oh, there it is, down here, yes. You can create bone blocks using 9 bone meal. They're effectively a resource block, and you can break them back down into bone meal if you want to, just by popping one in the crafting table like so. But instead, I'm going to add these to the dig site over here as though they are occasional kind of bones and bits and pieces sticking out here and there that the paleontologists around here decided to start digging up because they were evidence that there was a greater earthworks to be made here in order to find the fossil that's actually down there below. Alternatively, they could even have been brought up here for further inspection. You know, these are ones that have already been unpacked from the crane we're about to build. But yeah, I like the way this place has come together quite a lot, and we could always do a little bit more kind of terraforming around here. We could build some more sandbars and that kind of thing, but I really want to keep as much of the sand as possible because I want to smelt it and turn it into glass and use that in my nether hubs, so I'm not going to do any more terraforming over here today. Instead, we're going to get on and build this crane idea that I had, and I think it's going to look really great over in that area. So I'm going to take this crafting table with me so that we can make a few things like stairs and trapdoors, and this will be a crane design that you guys can build yourself. It should be fairly straightforward. Now that the platform is actually down here, the platform is all the way down there, I don't think the crane needs to be coming out over the top of this section where the kind of cargo elevator is. I'm going to build it instead back here a little way, but with the implication being that it swings around to pick stuff up off the platform once the platform is at kind of ground level, if you like. So let's pop this down, let's get some of the resources out of here. It's going to be a fairly simple design. I also want to go and grab some scaffolding out of my scaffolding box, which I should have left over here somewhere. So when we see cranes in the real world, you'll tend to see them made out of a kind of lattice. They tend to be made out of struts of metal because those are light and easy to carry around, but also can be quite strong when reinforced together, like a scaffold, right? So I thought we could use scaffolding blocks for this. However, they look a little bit insubstantial by themselves. Even though bamboo is quite a strong material and gets used for scaffolding throughout the world, I think it could look a little bit more strongly reinforced, and you could imply that it can rotate a little bit better if we add a little something to it. So I'm going to grab these armor stands from out of here, and we're going to do a quick trick with the scaffolding. But first, I'm going to go and sleep because I don't want it to be nighttime while I'm playing with this fairly delicate stuff. Let's say that we are going to build our crane with the center of it here, like so. I'm going to count 6 blocks back. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that's going to be the maximum length that the scaffolding bridge we're going to make off the top of here will go before it starts dropping scaffolding off of the end. Because remember, there's a build limit to scaffolding. Once we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the next one we place is actually going to drop down directly onto the center of that piece of scaffolding that we've already put down there. And that is integral to the design I want to do here. I'm going to build another scaffolding tower over here so I can use that to place some stuff. And this is a design that you guys can copy at home. I think you'll find this kind of clever. So we're going to build out scaffolding to one side and the other, and we're going to drop one piece of scaffolding down there like that. That's going to form the base of our crane, and we're going to surround it with some spruce stairs in a moment. Now we're going to add 2 armor stands, but dropping them from height so that they can land directly on top of the scaffolding platform. We're going to place one facing that way, and we're going to place another one facing that way. And if we come back down to ground level now, you'll see that these have actually dropped and slotted into each other with a kind of almost cog-like formation. They kind of, like, they're at right angles to each other so that the shoulders of the armor stands and the kind of hips of the armor stands stand out, and they could look like a little piece of machinery if you use your imagination a bit. Then we can drop another piece of scaffolding from the edge here, but we will have to shift on the scaffolding, so let me get out onto one of these pieces. There we go, so that we can hold shift and drop a piece of scaffolding on top of that. That has not broken, that has actually passed through the armor stands thanks to it being a gravity-aided block and has landed so that it's around the armor stands. Now we're going to repeat this pattern a few more times, basically until I run out of armor stands here. We're going to place 2 of those and then a scaffolding block, and then just repeat that a couple more times. And then eventually, when we take down this scaffolding and we take down this setup set of scaffolding, what we end up with is a tower of scaffolding with a reinforcing pillar of armor stands going up the middle. And I'm really proud of this. I think this looks really, really nice as a detail. You can still come up through it like so, and obviously you could put stuff on the armor stands if you wanted to. You could add armor to them if you felt like that enhanced the look of it, but right now we're just going to keep it simple. We're just going to have this wooden pole running up the center of it using armor stands. Now we're going to build some spruce stairs around the outside of that, so let me quickly whip up some spruce stairs that we're going to use as the base of the crane like so, and then all we should need to do is wrap those around the bottom there, and that looks like the base of our crane. Coming up to the top of the scaffold here, we're going to place one chiseled stone brick that's going to look like the kind of fulcrum, I guess it is, of the kind of pivot point of the crane, and then from below there on this topmost piece of scaffolding, we're going to add some spruce trapdoors on either side just to conceal the fact that there is scaffolding at work here at all, because the top part of the scaffolding can look a little bit obvious. We're going to do that on 3 sides, excluding the side that we want to use as the back, and then we're going to make the crane arm out of stripped spruce wood. So I'm going to place it down as spruce wood. First, we need a couple of different joints of it here, and it's just going to be a diagonal length of wood. So we're just going to make it fairly straightforward like so, and yeah, I think that's probably where it's going to end up. Now we need to balance that out on the other side with a longer arm on this side, but we need to make a counterweight for this thing to make it look like it's actually a proper crane, because cranes have counterweights on the opposite side to balance the load that's being picked up by the front half. So let me quickly grab some oak fences if I have them. Nope, I guess I'll just use some regular oak wood. Fair enough. Let's just turn those into fences like so. Perfect, that should do. And, oh, do we still have a grindstone in here? Yes, okay, I will grab that for now because we will be using that in a moment. So on the back here, we want a counterweight. I'm probably just going to put one length of fence on there and then make a big, heavy-looking stone weight, like so. We're just going to have a plus shape of stone, and that looks like it could function pretty well as a counterweight. Let's build the arm out on the opposite side. Scaffolding is also pretty good for this as well, acting as a kind of temporary block if we can see the side of it, which I will need to scaffold along a little further. There we go. Let's pop 2 on there, and that is where the crane arm is going to end. We'll strip the rest of this wood, take out the scaffolding blocks, and on the underside of here is where we're going to hang our final grindstone. From there, we'll build a kind of... Oh, I didn't need to access the grindstone there. We can build a kind of cage made out of fences from the top down here, and then that can hold up a platform that's got coal blocks and bone blocks and that kind of stuff on top of it. Just going to clear a little bit of this stuff out of my inventory before I go to sleep. We will need the fences, but the rest of this stuff, like the stone, will bring a little bit of coal, and we've got the bones there, but the majority of this I think we can leave out now. I do want to make a little bit more oak wood into trapdoors, though, if I've got it to spare, which I think I have plenty at this stage, so let's throw that back in there. And one more thing I was thinking about doing is maybe including rails to make it look like whatever load of cargo we've got in here has been strapped down, maybe with a detector rail on the top. How about that? So the fences are once again going to act as ropes holding up this kind of stable platform in the middle. We don't want that one there. Let's bring these out one more time in a kind of step formation like this. And on the underside of each of these, we're going to add a spruce stair, inverted like so, connecting this framework of fences to the platform, which we're probably going to make exclusively out of oak slabs. It's actually going to begin 1 block below that, like so, but we're going to have the corners raised up a little bit so that it's kind of cradling some stuff in the middle. And that's where, around the outside, we can start to place these trapdoors that look like they are kind of holding the stuff in place a little bit more firmly. In the center here, we'll place a couple of coal blocks, maybe a bone block or 2, like so, and I think that will probably do. Maybe we'll throw a torch in there as well, just to make sure stuff doesn't spawn up here in the night if we don't want it to. And last of all, we're going to build rails over the top here, like so, so that it looks like the cargo is strapped down. We're going to take that one out, and we're going to add a 3rd rail on the back there, and with the detector rail in the middle, that looks like it's being held down pretty well. If I was to use a 4th regular rail for that, it would try and curve towards one track or the other, so I decided to use a redstone rail. It could be a powered rail or an activator rail if you prefer, but I like the fact that the detector rail has that kind of square thing in the middle, as though that's like the release that's going to unpack everything if they need to take all of the cargo out. So that's our cargo crane all done, and I really like how that looks in the context of this dig site. I think that's a really good addition to the area, along with all the terraforming and stuff like that. We could add a couple of these around the site if we wanted to, just to help it kind of have a more coherent feel. But I think this is turning out really, really great. I'm super happy with it, and I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode of the Minecraft Survival Guide. That is where we're going to leave it for today. But don't forget to leave a like on this episode if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care. Bye for now.